Hiduki, just wanted to make a quick update video to sort of let people catch up to where I'm at, how my league start went, what the plans for the future are. It's kind of like a quick progression. So, league pretty much went how I thought it was going to go with prices of things, which builds would be meta, which is, like obviously the Summoners was a pretty easy guess even after the nerfs, and like that was like exactly what I thought it would be, which is like they're gonna think they're gonna nerf it, but mechanically speaking, where they're at as it is individually is just too strong. You know what I mean? Like it's really really hard to nerf that, even with how heavy-handed it looked. You know what I mean? So like summoners were easy pick, fair enough. I did predict that cast on crit Ice Nova was going to be huge, especially like once I did the math and stuff like that. But I think it was like popular for different reasons than that. Like I don't think people actually did the math because no one really is pushing the new awakened gem the way you're meant to. I don't think people are very aware of how it scales and how ridiculously OP it is once you reach 52% cooldown reduction. So it's been pretty interesting to see that like people haven't quite cottoned onto that yet. Like everyone's got the gem and everyone's using it, the awakened cast and critical strike. But like I don't think people realize that you need to bake 52% cooldown recovery and 9.5 attack speed. Not 9.9 is like the actual goal, but like you need to, over 9 attacks per second to truly get the benefit from this gem, which I'll potentially show in a little bit. And like that's a massive damage upgrade, by the way. I think it's like an extra 2 Ice Novas per second, which is it is a lot. It is a lot. Anyway, so I sort of digressed there a little bit. Aside from that, I also said that the badge of the Brotherhood and a couple other things were going to be, super popular this league. True, they were very, very popular. I think the thing that I also mentioned, I couldn't guess this either, was like how rare those badge of the Brotherhoods are going to be. They were insanely expensive. You couldn't even jag one of those at the start of the league. Like I was waiting for the first one to drop. Dropped about day 2, and it was 13x off the bat. Kind of hoping maybe someone would list it for 3 or 4 and then they were going to go up in price, but they've been pretty consistently above 10x the whole league, so I'm glad that wasn't my only option. You know what I mean? I was thinking about making the Blade Vortex character. It was still going to be strong, is still strong this league. I was surprised that the cast on crit mod actually wasn't dead. Neither was the double damage one, not completely. Like it obviously took a hit, but not as bad as I thought it was going to be. You know what I mean? Like I thought they were actually going to get rid of it. So yeah, the league in terms of like predicting the meta, predicting what was going to be big and what was going to be good. And I did say this as well. I did say Tornado Shot should be fine, and I'm pretty sure the others won't be picked up enough. Boy, could I not have been any more correct than that, especially with how ridiculously pricey the gear was. That was an amazing prediction on my part. I mean, like, it wasn't hard to work out that the bow skills weren't going to be able to be better than Tornado Shot, but like, man, did they fall short for a bow league. Like everyone's like, so many people I knew started bows, and I was just like, I don't think they're going to be that good. Man, 30% of people are playing summoner, and more people are joining the crew. I know so many people that started off as rangers and stuff like that. No one's playing ranger anymore. If you're still playing ranger, that's not a slight at you. It's just like, man, did I nail that? Like tornado shot, and stuff like that are still fine. Like these are still okay builds, but they just don't cut the mustard. They really don't, and their small advantages are slowly dwindling away. It's pretty much just Tornado Shot now. Like, if anything, they've made it worse. Like, by getting rid of Haze Scale Scourge Arrow and stuff like that, man, it's... maybe they did that as a test. Like, I have an actual theory where it's just like, Scourge Arrow is on par to some degree with Tornado Shot, you know what I mean? And they're just like, we're going to see what happens when we take away that thing's damage and see how popular it gets. And it's just like, not very. No one's using it now, like, or barely anyone is, you know what I mean? It's nowhere near the same damage as it was. Anyway, okay. That was meta, and how all that sort of formed up. I managed to completely nail that. I was really, really happy with myself for that. I kind of didn't predict the prices of, like, the weapons and stuff like that. Like, I got mine early, you know what I mean? Like, I literally turned Orb of Storms into a fully decked out cast on crit Ice Nova character within 5 days, I think it was. Like I had all this gear, not all this gear. I had the Carcass Jack, the 2 Cospreys, I upgraded from Lycosidate as everyone else did. So like I was running Cast on Crit Ice Nova day 2, like reliably, you know what I mean? These were like 8x when I got them and stuff like that. Like they were insane, and I had to wait 3 to 4 days for the first one to actually drop with 2 sockets on it. I bought this day 1 for. I was so upset because like I thought I was getting ripped off, but like considering how the league's gone, so I had to buy this for I think it was 3x, and I was like, "Fuck, man, that's so shit." Like, you know, they should be 2x, and like the first ones that dropped were 2x, and then quickly got bought up, and then put up to 3, and then 4, and I was like, "Oh man, they're gonna go down. They always do." They went down for a very brief period, and I ended up paying about 3x for this one and 4x for this one. Just because things were going well, I just paid the 4, and I'm kind of glad I did because, you know, like historically speaking, these would go down in price very, very soon. Like as soon as the build would drop off, they went up. You know what I mean? And so it was actually a good buy for these early. I did the same thing with this. Pandemonious is usually 4x and 5x and 6x at the start of the league, and I'm like, oh, it'll go down. I paid 4x for mine, and I was kind of like, oh man, sometimes they go down to 3x, like, but it could take a month, you know what I mean, for that price to go down. I'm like, it'll go down eventually, but I'll just cop it, because yet again, I was doing well, I had all my gear, went out and bought these. These are now just constant 6x, you know what I mean, like, these did go down after a certain point, but I'm glad I still bought them early, you know what I mean, like, these things have only just really dropped in price, like, recently. They were still 4x, you know, going back even a week. So you really didn't make much money there. The rings are actually just placement holders, like they're just placeholders. You know what I mean? It's just got res on it and stuff like that. It's just like a bit of life and chance to freeze. The spell damage is nice, but I still got to craft my rings, and that was another thing. I've had to craft all my own gear. I managed to buy these. These were the perfect pair. Just in terms of suffixes, I'm going to meta craft this later. Because all I need to do is hit 30% movement speed, and then I can roll on 70 life, which is pretty damn close to perfect. I mean, like, all you need is these, you know, the suffixes, which are both, they're all triple T1, and that allows me to reach a new breakpoint. And these resistances are pretty important because we go unique heavy. Like, this and pretty much just the boots get me my resistances, and the helm. They have to be pretty specific, and then these ones can actually be multi-modded. This is not my final helm. I had a Devoto's Devotion I bought up with a Ice Nova enchant at the start as well, crazy cheap, and sold it for a profit later down the line. I think I bought it for 1x. It's an absolute steal, by the way. The guy probably didn't know the price of it, and yeah, sold it for 7x a few days ago. Once I decided, you know, I've got the Awakened Gem, I had leveled the Awakened Gem, I could now reach the new breakpoint, and even though it's still bugged with the cooldown reduction or whatever, it still actually works. It's just this weird, like if you're doing this thing, you know, it doesn't proc. You see the little cooldown thing comes up or whatever, you know what I mean? So if you're doing the tippy tappy thing, like some headhunter build guys are, it doesn't proc very well, so it's not very nice. So yeah, that was how sort of gearing went. Like we were pretty much done, you know. Jagged this up day 1, went Lycosidate. Surprisingly quick, especially considering that the prices of things were not cheap at the start of the league. Normally you can rely on buying stuff quick, and you know, it took me 5 hours to get to maps, which is not uncommon, but it was a little bit worse than normal. Like, I leveled Orb of Storms the way I said I would. Still perfectly fine, still perfectly viable, still probably the fastest. I think the only thing was the damage has obviously taken a massive hit, and I actually swapped out from Stormblast Mines, which is a bit clunky, to Wave of Conviction. Fantastic choice. Like, actually fantastic. I tried out Arc as well. That was my backup plan. So, like, as I was leveling and I noticed Stormblast Mines was dropping off, I swapped to Arc. But then you know, every now and then I just sort of like to test Wave of Conviction. And really, like, the damage on Wave of Conviction was just straight up more, and it was applying my exposure at the same time, because I had so much cast speed and how this build works. Wave of Conviction is actually better than Arc. People might like it for the clear or whatever, but it made no difference to me whatsoever. So I just went, Orb of Storms is for my clear, then I need single target, and single target is just better on Wave of Conviction. So if you're one of the people that was just like, oh yeah, I wanted Arc for clear and bossing, it's not a great bosser. You're better, like your Orb of Storms is your clear, you know what I mean? And then on top of that, you really want a big single target, and that happens to be Wave of Conviction. That's your best choice. If you guys are doing, you know, Orb of Storms leveling, which is still perfectly viable, still probably one of the better ones, I would just straight up recommend You're going to level as Orb of Storms, that's your clear speed and stuff like that. But on your bossing, you're going to go Wave of Conviction, which isn't new, but it's been pushed more into the meta now, and Arc is not really a great replacement. It's a replacement for your Orb of Storms. I wouldn't recommend replacing it for anything else. Like, its single target is not fantastic. At least not in my experience, you know what I mean? So that all went pretty well. Got my gems early as well. Ice Nova 2123. This was 1 exalt when I got it. I'm not even kidding. When I bought this, I was like, should I spend this 1 exalt here? I really need this for other gear. I actually sacrificed getting a second Kosh Breeze and stuff like that because, you know, I was trying to save up at the same time. I'm like, what's going to be the biggest impact? What's going to be the biggest impact? And I think I still had like level 18 or 19 gems at this point. And it was there for 1x, and I was like, man, I don't know if he's going to go up or down in price yet again. We didn't see the meta shaping, but I seen the prices of everything else. Bought it up, no kidding, man. The next one to pop up was like, I think 3 or 4x, and I was just like, whoo, and they haven't really gone down since. So that was an absolute bargain, man. Like, got really lucky on a few things. I think the only thing I got unlucky on, really, was the Awaken cast on Crit Gem, and probably one of the more brutal ones to get wrong, but like, there was a big price dip at one point when they're like, oh, the gem is broken. That was, you know, the consensus is like, this actually doesn't work right now because it adds the cooldown, which messes up your attack speed. Not actually what it does. I think that was like a little bit of misinformation on Reddit's part. You know what I mean? And all it does was just, it gives you a delay at the start. You barely notice it. Barely notice it. There's been a couple of times where I've noticed, like, my spinning doesn't always start and, you know, like immediately, and sometimes you can get stunned that little bit. Like, it's very niche scenarios, very, very far and few in between. I barely notice it, but I definitely noticed the damage upgrade, and I definitely noticed that this is just purely to show you how quickly this procs now. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen it before. It kind of goes like that, relatively quickly. You know, you can get like 3 out in a second. It's more like 5 now. Quickly, you just go to Aqueduct. Just like, if you see how quickly this thing starts flicking, it'll give you an indicator of exactly the difference that the gem makes. It's about an extra 2 novas per second. So, like, I don't even know if that'll show up on recording. It's really quick. I think I need somewhere with more health and life. I'm sure you've seen how quickly it was resetting. We should just quickly run a map. But yeah, Awaken cast on crit is a ginormous more multiplier to your damage. I'm actually quite surprised at the price of these. So I had to buy that for 20x when it was kind of fever pitch or something like that, whatever you want to call it, you know what I mean? Like, I sort of panic bought it up too because they were getting more expensive, because it went from, you know, this crazy expensive one at the start. I didn't even read the mods, it's fine. So it went from this sort of crazy price at the start of the league to a lot less, to down to like 12x or something like that, and I didn't want to buy them. Like, oh, they're crashing, sweet, they'll be cheap soon. We're sort of 10x or 5x like everything else, because, you know, we didn't know the way things are going. So just pay attention to this. This just sort of shows you how quickly the cooldown is. The damage can get a lot better, by the way. There's that weird delay I was talking about. See how I don't know if that actually shows up. It's so quick, I don't know if the FPS will be able to keep up with it. But it basically blinks now. It used to be you could, you know, relatively see it rotating around, you could count it almost, you know what I mean? Whereas like now it's like, it literally just flashes. And it's an extra, it's a big calculator thing I can link to people if they really care about it when I do the min-max version of this. So this will be getting min-max, this is already 97, I should be 100, but I prioritized making money obviously. We've made a mirror, a headhunter, got 50 exalts in the bank. I've done many crafting attempts. I had to craft all these items myself because they just simply do not exist. That's why I believe people don't know about the cooldown reduction and the breakpoints you're meant to be making to make your Ice Nova actually work with the Awakened cast on Crit Gem. We still got to buy an Awakened Curse on Hit Gem. Still need a +2/+1 chest, which currently just doesn't exist. Most of my gear doesn't exist, is a big problem. I've thrown 3 double corruptions. That's what should be in my title somewhere. Yeah, this FDC thing has failed double corrupt, so I've thrown 3 6-link Carcass Jacks into the void. None of them survived, so I didn't get any money back whatsoever. That's fine though. I've had phenomenal luck in it elsewhere, at least recently. I nearly died then too. I wasn't paying attention. Clear speed's still fine. A little bit faster with Devotos, but like the like the price you pay for like getting more damage later down the track is much more appealing to me, you know what I mean? Like, I can do Awakener reliably. This can do Awakener. It's a fantastic Awakener killer. Granted, you still need to actually be somewhat skillful, so it took me like 3 or 4 failed attempts to actually get it to work, you know what I mean? Like, and even then, it still took some learning. Like, I still make mistakes and stuff like that. I'll just do all these. Sometimes I still die on these. Metamorphs are still sketchy at least for now. Like, but the thing is, I could still get another, I wouldn't say 50% more, but like, there's a lot more I could do with this build. No, it would be easily 50% more, to be honest. Like, I think when I get the double corruption on my chest, that's 25% more damage. When I get a proper Shaper's Helm, it's 10% more. When I add the 40%, like the correct enchant, it's going to be 10% helm or something like that. 2 rings is actually huge for this build. They're like 20% more each, because like there's 2 damage modifiers on both my rings combined. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not a lot. I've got I have a couple of Shaper Opal rings there as well, and if I get the +1 to curse or whatever, which I will be getting, you know what I mean, the Awaken Gem, I level that to full. I will then have, what is it? An additional curse and hexproof and stuff like that, and I could possibly get elemental weakness, which is what this shaped hunter opal ring is for. So hopefully I craft that and I get what I want. This is just, you know, momentary ideas and stuff like that. For going for 100, however, I'm considering dropping Awakened Cast on Crit. Like, I'm still going to use it, you know what I mean? Doesn't affect anything. However, I won't be actually getting the benefit from it. So what I might potentially do is swap these out and just go Headhunter for now, for racing to 100. But I will still be buying the min-max gear and crafting it. Like, we got a fair bit of money now. This mirror is for whatever I decide I want later down the track. This I got from a div card, hand in yesterday. Like, possibly the luckiest thing that's ever happened to me in this game. We also got a multi-strike, Awakened multi-strike. We got that drop yesterday as well. I got these crazy gloves. We got a whole bunch of things that happened yesterday, man. Like, it's been a pretty wild time, this league. And the thing about this league in particular is it's been consistent money. These changes to the atlases, the map farming strategies, like obviously getting maps early was great. I fucking sold off all my maps. We made a bunch of money there. Especially early. Once like we realized that sustain wasn't a thing, the prices really dipped out. Now everything's like 4C. There's a couple of maps that are worth a bit more. But just, you know, we got our fully awakened Atlas. I would always recommend doing Cyrus. Mapping quick is still ultra viable way of making money, but you also need to be able to boss. Like, this should be pretty clear to everyone, but like, I made nearly all my money, and this is about 20 exalts a day plus to get all the stuff that I've got now. You know, we're looking at like 100x worth of gear. By the way, I got like a perfect double hatred Watcher's Eye. Or, not double hatred, sorry, I shouldn't say that. You got a Watcher's Eye that's got precision and hatred, which is actually fantastic. This is actually the best modifier, by the way. People probably don't think this. They're like, oh, why'd you get the crap one? Where's your pen at? We're going to get pen in other areas, and we have a lot of minus to resistances. We're going to have a lot of penetration on top. We're going to have like an Ellie weakness along with a permanent frostbite and a frost bomb for frost exposure. We already have a lot of ways of getting through resistances. So the next best thing you can do, and if you put it into POB, this actually says it's more, and it's more per proc, and we proc a lot more than we used to. So getting more damage per proc is actually significantly better. Also, like, when we run up against Hexproof, we lose all that stuff, you know what I mean? Whereas we don't ever lose this. This is permanent. And because we're going to get a bunch of pen later down the track and stuff like that, like, it's obviously, you know, we're going to get, like, I'm going to preferably get 10 and 10 on both of these, plus a couple of other corrupts. Like, these are going to be double corrupted eventually. Like I said, I want to min-max this. But the stuff that gives the biggest damage upgrade right now is the chest piece. I need to finish off the helm and get the enchant on that, which is easy enough. I've got the money right now to go buy a base, and then we could start crafting, and I've got a lot of money for crafting. But also I want to get rings done, so I've crafted rings like this. I've had the actual item I want about 7 times, and I've just failed the annul every single time. We don't need the all res. I would prefer damage. We're also still waiting on the craft for Elrond rings, so I've got level 2 craft, which is -2 to channeling skills. I need it to be level 3 because I have exactly 5. We do not go inspiration. A lot of people are big on inspiration because it's like an unconditional thing. but there is technically a condition, and that is the fact that you are spending mana. Second, you need to spend mana, even with the life gain on hit, which is what I was doing, sorry, mana gained on hit, it's still really, really inconvenient to play as. I got this down to like, to one mana per second or whatever. It still drains insanely quick. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is without no regen, obviously, but like, I'll right click. Look how quickly that mana goes down. Even at one, right? Even at 1 mana per second, when you've got no regen, like, you just see how quickly it actually ticks down. It is insanely quick. So the mana gained on hit thing only works if you are constantly hitting a target. If you don't for like 0.5 of a second, or you accidentally flame dash, you're at the point where you can't bloody cast again. So it makes no regen super inconvenient. I like to run all map mods. We're gonna have 100% crit, although I still think that's iffy as, by the way. I still don't like the... They really need to change this line where it's all like, you know, damage from your critical strikes cannot be reflected kind of thing. It's like, it's true, it works to that degree, kind of, but the reality of it is like, it's kind of unreliable. I have like nearly 100% crit. Every now and then, man, it just doesn't click, and I nearly go bye-bye. As a matter of fact, I have died several times, especially on Blight. Blight is like a big no-no on no reflect. Even with 100% crit, I would eventually swap this out for this. You know what I mean? Like, or one of these anyway. Like, I feel like Deadly Infusion, only because you only get that 2% crit multiplier at maximum power charge, is kind of annoying. So it's kind of unreliable at the start, as well as like this. Anyway, that's a discussion for another time when I actually make the build guide video. So yeah, we made most of our money through selling fragments early. Like, I've literally only kept one of these, like one pile of these, and I haven't even kept my Shaper ones because they still sell so well. I kept one pile of these, and I've just been selling these all league. All league. It's also why I stopped at 97, because I really wanted to boss, to constantly sell stuff, and the thing that comes with bossing is occasionally dying. I wanted to deep delve, we're at like 450, maybe not deep delve, I just wanted to get to the achievement level of it or whatever, 600, so I stopped. We've been delving deep. We haven't really died that much. We're at like I said, 450 depth. I've been doing all my Cyruses because it's so lucrative and so nice, and I've made a bunch of money through that as well. Yeah, we've had things to do. You know, I offered carry services as well, even when I wasn't this geared. So once we hit 97, we really stopped. We could have gotten 100 if we had played it safe and just mapped and done other things, but obviously to min-max this, I need money and I need currency, and I need it the faster the better. As of next week, the hardcore solo self-found boys are going to come back. Some of them are pretty big key players in the market. Prices of everything's probably expected to go up a little bit. Prices of my stuff is already horrendously high, because Ice Nova ended up being super popular, despite the fact that people aren't even utilizing it properly. Like, it's a lot of people that just have, like, you know, the Koshbury setup and the regular old damage, which is no comparison to Awakened with proper cooldown reduction. Like, I had to make all this gear myself. And, yeah. So things are going well. The plans for the future is pretty much the last thing I want to talk about. I want to make the min-max guide. This will take probably the rest of the league, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how long it's going to take me to craft this gear. It simply does not exist. Meta crafting, this will come later. The current stats on this are fine, so that's another complete piece. We need a double corruption on this, a double corruption on this. These aren't really mandatory. They're actually like such a small upgrade, but it does make my damage more consistent. So multi-strike is really, really great. The pen is actually better because there's a map modifier that makes it so that your crit multi isn't as effective, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like, damn, that sucks. There's nothing like that for pen. Pen is pretty permanent, you know what I mean? So, to that degree, despite only being a 2% upgrade, you know, on Shaper and Guardian, it's a kind of modifier that can't be affected by map mods, from what I've seen. Like, even if it gives them extra resistance, you're penetrating it. That's actually the whole idea of pen. It's fine. Doesn't hurt it in any way. And if I get two of them, plus like, I think it's either attack speed or crit I need, one or the other, it makes my stuff more consistent. I need a attack multiplier on this, which is, you know, pretty cheap. People don't rate it because obviously it says cast speed on there. I also want a life multiplier on it. This I want +2, +1 is the absolute best. There is one for +2 and 50% damage, which is similar. I would prefer the +1 because it upgrades, you know, my critical strike chance, the cyclone, a bunch of other stuff, you know what I mean? There's a little bit more potential there. Obviously this helm We want -9. We need similar stats to this. As a matter of fact, like if we didn't have the lightning, I would just do the crafted mods, which are actually better. I just need crafted mod here, crafted mod there. This is going to get, I've got the imprint for this with exactly flask. Flask when you deal a crit strike and cooldown recovery speed, both perfectly rolled. That's going to eventually get 10% more life on it. That's what we're going to imprint Beast for. So this gear is all ready to go. Everything is ready to go. This is going to get a, I've got the golden oil already. We're going to redo this to Heart of Ice or whatever. I just been pretty lazy with it. Rings are just basically we're going to go for as much life as we can. We could just go all damage. We don't really need all res, but it would be kind of nice just to make resistances a little bit easy. We can triple balance our Wise Oak once we do this properly. We're going to have a Wise Oak in the setup. We may even use that Chalice that lets you get more flash charges. Can't remember the name of it. Overflowing Chalice, I think. So big damage upgrades on the rings coming. That's kind of the gear we need to upgrade. And then we're going to make a Headhunter version of this, which is going to help me get 100. And then the min-max version. And I'm going to make a video on both of them. So the setup you would have for mapping, speeding, and zooming. The tree is going to be a little bit different from optimal, because it's going to be made so that I can swap out the gear to go do Cyrus. Like, Cyrus is lucrative and is really, really good. And I'm pretty sure I could do it on the Headhunter version of it. But it's just easier to not play games and just have a quick weapon swap. Not a weapon swap, sorry. Just like I pull out this belt from the Headhunter, and then I just put in the other one, and then I swap over a few gems. Because like right now, we can kind of get... my Temper Steel could stay here. Pretty sure this hits enough nodes that it would be 1, 2... Pretty sure one of these gets hit. And that's like, I can put a Inspired Learning here. I can put another Inspired Learning over here somewhere. I think I just take the Mind Drinker node or something like that. Or this one of these ones. I think it's this one, and that's actually really effective. Therefore, we get all the nodes again. And it helps my damage, so we can optimize that. So we can get 2 Inspired Learnings. You know, swap to Self Curse, Temp Chains. So swap out the Ami. Got the Headhunter already. And that's a pretty easy way to level it. You know what I mean? This Brutal Restraint, which is pretty cheap, I think, is still really, really good. Still pretty cheap. And that's purely just with 20% less damage taken. Our EHP is pretty small, but because of cooldown recovery, we technically nearly always have an extra 2.4k. A 21-23 steel skin with a 21 cast when damage taken, which is fantastic. There's a lot of things, so that's the plan for the future. Is we're just going to make a video on me getting 100, preferably in Headhunter setup. See how we go with that. Also, me crafting the last of my min-max gear and just waiting for gear to exist to some degree. Like now, we're just at the point where we're going to save money, saving this mirror for standard, unless something really, really good shows up in the league. You know what I mean? So and the rest of the league is pretty much just going to be farming. I'd say we're at like the home stretch already. Gives me a bunch more time to make videos. This is getting on a bit long right now, so I'm going to end it here. But yeah, that's the plans. League start went fantastic. We've delayed getting 100 purely because we need to make money, and that's still going to be the case. I'm still going to be doing Cyrus. Orb of Storms is fantastic for leveling. The meta ended up pretty much exactly the way I thought it would, which is Summoners are still 30% of the player base. Ice Nova ended up being super popular. Assassins are super popular. A prediction of mine, by the way, everyone said was false. I would never trust Reddit, by the way. Like, they're just a bunch of not very bright people in the nicest way possible. They might outnumber me, but I honestly don't think that they could outbrain me. It's a word, trust me. Anyway, yeah, basically, like, everything went the way I thought it would. I really enjoy the new Atlas. It is a fantastic way of making money. We'll see how this shapes up in the future, because now that people have a grasp of it, sort of the best ways to play it and stuff like that, and the fact that a lot of builds will die by the wayside. Anything that isn't really an acceptable build these days is, boy, not gonna fare very well. All the meme builds are just... It's not to say you can't make a build work, but you're gonna need to be a much better player from now on. Like, the things that you could sort of get away with before is not truly the case anymore. Start of the league and map making strategies are dead. However, getting to maps quickly and selling fragments seems pretty lucrative, at least for this league in particular. Cyrus, I definitely believe, is going to be permanently desired. Like the big hits, those big gems are just going to be, to my, in my predictions or whatever, are going to be pretty lucrative going forward. So even if maps do die out the way they are now, buying them up quickly at the start of the league is going to be okay. But it's only going to be certain maps, and they're going to rotate, so you're going to have to pay attention to your atlas purely for selling those maps. Like you say, you get one of the ones, it's like you can only get this once you're in tier 12s, and it's a natural map. Those things sell like hotcake because they drop. It's not like one of the ones you can unlock at white and then you've still got the bonus for later down the track. So you want to get your bonus as fast as possible. You want to get your watchstones as fast as possible. You're going to really want to pump out maps, and that's going to be lucrative for the first week. But not like it used to be, where just selling any and all of the maps was lucrative, to get the Atlas bonus. Now it's like you can get 80% of your maps through whites. So the map bonus thing becomes a very select few amount of maps. And yeah, that's pretty much how it's going to deal with a lot of people. And it keeps people from progressing super, super quick, needing watchstones. And it's big time investment, basically. It's a very big time investment. And the profit's kind of gone from it. To some degree, the profit is gone. Also, I wouldn't recommend having a League Start character and a separate character you're going to make. I mean, probably not fair to say that, but it worked out so well for me to actually just have a build that could do it all. It can boss and it can map, rather than having like this map bosser, spend 2 days off trying to get these things, because like where the breakpoint would be between making money at the start while it's still lucrative, why everything's still like kind of overpriced, why exalts are crazy cheap, which they still are this league, but like the point is like if you take time off to level this other character and gear it, you'd have to be far enough ahead from the start, from the get-go. Whereas for me, it was easier to use the exact same character I was already going with and transition it. So if you can literally level as something else, you can still have a League Start build, but make it so that it's a League Start build that can literally turn into your next build, which can presumably not only map, but also boss, which was a prediction I made earlier. So there's definitely that. And I think that is the biggest thing, which is you need to be able to boss with builds now. Maybe drop off a little bit of clear speed. Like this thing's still got perfectly acceptable clear speed. You can turn it into a clear speed build. Builds like this, these nice hybrids that aren't particularly like masters of any, but are jacks of all trades, are fantastic, man. Like this thing's a great bosser. Got a lot of single target. It takes a little bit of learning. It's obviously expensive, and as it kind of should be. Hopefully once I make a min-max video, people realize how good that gem is and how to get the most benefit from it. I'll put up the calculator and stuff like that for people in that video and sort of explain how it works. I mean, it got explained to me, you know what I mean? I didn't realize there were these breakpoints and it doesn't even work if you don't reach them. But, yeah, that's pretty much everything in summary, like, yeah, that's been my league, where I'm at. We've done well. We've done really, really well. This was insane luck. Obviously, the RNG game, there's a lot of insane luck in it, but I don't think I'll ever top this as far as the League Start goes, especially considering everything was brand new. We didn't know about the new bosses. It took me a little bit of like panicking to sort of work out if I could even kill Cyrus with this build. Like, Cyrus didn't seem very friendly at the start. He's still got a lot of problems, which I made a Reddit post about. You know what I mean? Like being able to push you onto degen, which can just kill you. Staying outside of the arena to just keep lobbing stuff in is super, super inconvenient. Not coming down from clouds. The bug where he stays on top of clouds, both him and the clouds don't move, so you actually have to dive him and hope that you procced him, which will bring him down. But ironically enough, because you died to do this, it counts as you outside the arena, so the second you get back, he spawns another cloud straight away. I mean, like, it unbugs him, 50-50 chance, but, like, then you've got to deal with another cloud, and it's kind of like, well, that's super frustrating. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that can happen, so, like, the Cyrus in the air can do the big beam at the same time as he casts a meteor, and you can actually get pushed onto the beam, and it fucking kills you. Like, there's a lot of things they really need to work on. The stairs, everyone's all excited. They're fixing the stairs, woo! A lot more wrong with the fight than that. However, the fight is generally doable. It's very, very punishing. There's a lot of things they could work on mechanically just to fine-tune the fight. As a melee character, having the boss sit on degen is really annoying. Having him outside the arena where I can't touch him and he's just shooting inwards is a massive problem, especially that gigantic beam. Because the way I counter that gigantic beam is by getting right next to him. I cannot do that if he is outside the arena. And I can't dodge it either. Like, you can time out your very best flame dash you want, where second he goes like little beam, you flame dash, woo, sweet. He's got enough turn on him outside the arena to generally smash you. Like, there's not really, there's like a mid-section area you can be. If you're too far at the back, he's gonna spin too big and just completely annihilate you. If you're too far forward, the beam is so big that it hits you anyway, and like you can only go between the ring basically. And at the midsection, like you have to be on the very, very right side, and you have to literally get to the left side and pretty much pop a flask. And even then, it's kind of sketchy whether you'll actually make it. They really need to work on that. Yeah, that's pretty much everything of the league so far. It's still a fantastic league. It's been such a fun change up. Super lucrative league. I kind of hope the economy stabilizes out like this. There's a lot of problems with underpricing and overpricing for so many items now. People are obviously having growing pains and don't know how to price things. Like I've literally seen, like an opal base with like it hits spell damage and chance to freeze, and people are like, I want 20x, and you're just like, it's a shit item. Like if this was on an opal base right now, someone would just be like 50x. It's just like, maybe you don't realize this, man, but the base itself is 2. You know what I mean? Like there's no consistencies in a lot of things, which is why it's just like it always works out cheaper. Pardon me, to craft your gear right now. People don't know how to price things anymore, or they never really did, but it's gotten worse now as a lot of new players are just playing summoners and getting into the high games and don't know the value of things, and just everything is either crazy expensive or incredibly cheap despite how powerful it is. There's no real in between at the moment. So yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying the league. Hopefully you guys are adapting to the new Atlas and basically new game. It actually does feel like a new game. For all my gripes and stuff like that, it is still being a fantastic league, and I really hope you guys are enjoying it. Hope you enjoyed the vid. Catch you later.